Hi everybody, this is Academic English Skills, and this video is the first in a new series I'm doing relating to academic vocabulary, and specifically vocabulary that comes from the academic word list, which was created by Avril Coxhead, and she compiled a list of the most common head words and divided those words into 10 sublists. And so I'm going to look through each sublist with some examples. Now the sublists are quite long. So, for example, this is sublist 1, which is the most common academic words that Avril Coxhead found. And because it's long, I've divided it into 2 sections. So there is a sublist 1 continued coming up afterwards. Okay, so anyway, have a look. I hope it's useful for you to improve your vocabulary knowledge and also your pronunciation, because we will be looking at some pronunciation as well. So just to be clear, when we speak of academic vocab, we mean vocabulary at university. So the vocab we hear, the vocab that we see, we read, and also the vocab that we will obviously use in our assignments. So sublist 1, let us begin. So our first word is analyze, analyze. And as you look through the examples on the screens, just see how the words are used in different situations, and obviously the different forms of the words, because we're looking at verb forms, adjective forms, noun forms, maybe even adverb forms, that kind of thing. And when you're looking at the examples, see what words come after it. So see how, what other words are commonly used with the main words in yellow. Okay, so as I said, analyze. Scientists need to analyze the results of experiments. What type of analysis do you need to do? To be an effective student, you need strong analytical techniques. She is very good at analyzing the way research is done. He wants to be a computer analyst when he graduates. Approach, approach. There are different approaches you can use in research. I find some teachers to be unapproachable. I was approached by someone who wanted me to answer some questions. So here, the first one, approaches, different approaches means like different ways, different methods. Assess, assess. Can you assess which skills you are good at? Universities have different types of assessment. Sometimes we need to reassess what we have done so we can improve. Not all subjects are accessible by doing exams. So the prefix reassess means to do it again, to do something again. So to assess again, reassess. The next word, assume, assume. It is not a good idea to assume you know what people think of you. Science needs to be based on evidence, not assumptions. I'm surprised you are late, as I assumed you knew what time we would begin. Again, look at how the words are used. Different words, different sentence structures. Authority, authority, just 2 examples for this one. Do you have the authority to ask people to leave? When researching, you need authoritative sources before you make notes. Okay, again, authoritative. So here is the adjective form. And authority here means like power, really. And it's often very common to have authority with the article the. Benefit, benefit. Hopefully these words will benefit you when you write. Improving your vocabulary will add benefit to your writing. Learning new ideas is extremely beneficial to improving our world knowledge. Many students have benefited from getting discounts with their student card. Who are the beneficiaries of the free books? Okay, so we've got benefit to and beneficial to. We've also got benefited from and beneficiaries of. So we have different prepositions depending on what the meaning of the sentence is, what's actually happening in the sentence. Concept, concept. Do you understand the general concepts that are being discussed? The program was first conceptualized 10 years ago. This is a new conceptualization related to improving students' language. So again, we've got some different meanings of the word here. So general concepts, do with general ideas, ways of doing things. But if the program was first conceptualized, it means that it was first thought of, first devised 10 years ago. Consist. The degree program consists of different modules and exams. Try and be consistent in your work to maintain high levels. This is a new course consisting of writing, reading, and speaking. There were inconsistencies in the research, so it might not be trustworthy. He was consistently asking questions in the class, showing he was interested. Okay, and again, I mean, as you'll see with many of the words, like many examples of vocabulary, just because the words have the same root, the same sort of beginning, they can have different meaning. So the degree program consists of different modules. So the degree program is, say, divided into different modules. It has different parts, yeah. But the other bits, try and be consistent in your work. Try and always do the same level, if you see what I mean. Consisting of parts. You say there were inconsistencies, so there's a negative word, so a prefix in. So, meaning there were problems, there were gaps. And he was consistently, so he was like always continually asking questions. The next word is constitute. Constitute. Exams constitute how most assessment is done. She was the MP representing the view of her constituents. Many countries have a constitution showing how it is governed. Some of the things you see in parliaments are unconstitutional. So numbers 2, 3, and 4, these words, the ones in yellow, are really to do with politics or political power. But the first one, exams constitute, really it means, a large part, a large section. So exams constitute how most assessment is done. So in other words, most assessment has a lot of exams. Context. Vocabulary only makes sense if it is used in a natural context. The use of contextual information helped me understand what was happening. As the ideas were uncontextualized, they made little sense to me. So contextualized, so, in a situation that is not familiar, a situation that does not make sense. So if something is in an actual context, it means the situation is familiar and it makes sense to you. So here, un is our negative prefix. The next word is contract or contract, depending on if it's a noun or a verb. So number 1, does the contract you sign make sense to you? There's the noun, stress on the con. There were different contractors working on the university campus. She was legally contracted to write a report on her findings for her company. So there is the verb form. So again, contract or contract, depending on if it is a noun or a verb form. Create. If you think creatively, you can solve problems in different ways. The course was created to help develop students' writing skills. Employers say that creativity is a skill that graduates lack. It can sometimes be hard to recreate what happened in the past. So again, recreate So there's the prefix repeating. Employees say that creativity, so stress on those syllables. The next word in our list is define, define. Learning the definition of a word can help us use it correctly. This seems to be the definitive author on this subject. The research redefined how scientists approach doing experiments. It's difficult to know because the areas are undefined, so no one really knows. Okay, so again, different meanings. Definition of a word, so the meaning, how it's used. Definitive author really means the main author, really. The research redefined, so, they made changes, became something new. And some areas are undefined, so they have no real names, they have no definitions. Derive, derive. This new approach derives from new research in this area. This is a derivative of soya that is used in different food types. The word does not have a specific derivation, but it seems to come from Old English. So here, derives, derivation, derivative, really coming from or originates from. Again, the prepositions, derives from, but a derivative of. Distribute or distribute. Okay, which one is it? Distribute or distribute? Well, the answer is it doesn't matter, because really that's a difference between British pronunciation, American and Australian pronunciation. So whether you say distribute or distribute, to whatever the stress is, perfectly fine. They are both perfectly acceptable and understood. Okay, so the guidelines have been distributed to all the new students. A supplier needs effective distribution to ensure the products arrive on time. The guidelines have been redistributed to those who were not here yesterday. Okay, so distribute or distribute. Economy, economy. The prices have increased rapidly and food is no longer economical for many people. An economy needs to grow and develop. Economically, the government has not improved things for people. Again, look at different forms. Remember, you can say economical or economical. You can also say economically or economically. Okay. But relief number 2, it's always really an economy, not an economy, if you see what I mean. Environment, environment. Environmental issues are at the forefront of politics today. Everywhere you look, products are now environmentally friendly. People from different backgrounds come from different environments. So remember, with this word environment, you don't pronounce the middle N. The middle N is silent. Establish, establish. Before you start your essay, establish what your opinion is. It was established that the pass mark would be 40%. The action of establishing clear rules can help everyone to understand what to do. So establish is read to found or, start from. Estimate, estimate. How long do you estimate it will take you to complete the essay? Students often underestimate how long writing an assignment can take. By my estimations, it should take us 30 minutes to arrive. So here, estimate, prediction, forecast, that type of thing. Remember the prefixes here, underestimate. So if you underestimate, it takes longer than you think. If you overestimate, it takes less than you think. Okay, less time, for example, okay. Evidence, evidence. It was evident that the essay was well organized. Evidently, you were able to write the reference list with no help. Smith 2019 evidenced that more needs to be done in this area. Okay, so here evidence is used to mean clearly shows. It was evident that the essay was well organized, so it was clearly shown, it was clear to the reader. Okay. Factor. There are many factors that led to the creation of the European Union. When factoring in the different parts, make sure you do not forget any. Okay. Formula. They used several different formulas before finding the right one that worked. The company has formulated a plan that will enable them to grow financially. They reformulated their ideas after reflecting on what they had done. They are engaged in the formulation of new academic modules. So a new formula was often used in a sort of mathematical context, isn't it, really? So number one, it could be mathematical or it could be a chemical formula, of course. But number two, so the formulate a plan. So they've come up with a plan. They've sort of calculated the plan. They put different things together to devise a plan. Reformulated again to formulate again. Function. What is the function of a vice chancellor in a university? Machines need to be functional if people are to use them. All the computers are fully functioning, so are available to use. So here, function, functional, functioning is to do with the idea of work or being useful. Identify. Communication has been identified as one of the most important life skills. Computers can identify people based on certain features. Animals have identifiable markings which can help them, which can help tell them apart. Everyone has their own unique identity, which makes us different. So identifiable in number three, there's the adjective. Indicate. The patterns indicate that this is significant. Doing well in exams is a good indicator of future success. Psychologists need to be clear if certain behavior is indicative of possible problems. So here, indicate really means to, show or appears to show or may show. Individual. Many people see themselves as individuals rather than being part of society. Certain personality traits can be a sign of strong individuality. Okay, individuality. Number three, such individualistic viewpoints can make people stand out when they do not want to. Individualistic. Interpret. Sometimes research can be misinterpreted. This may be your interpretation of the evidence, but I suggest you reinterpret it and then comment. My conclusions were based on how I interpreted the results. The ability to evaluate evidence requires solid interpretative skills. So there's the IVE, adjective describing the skills. Misinterpreted, so interpreted the wrong way. Reinterpret, do the same thing again. Involve. The research involved asking people to complete a questionnaire. Postgraduate students have a lot of involvement in performing research. Those who were uninvolved in the process felt that their views were not important. So uninvolved, not involved, that's what it means. So again, being involved is to be part of something. Legal. The legal process can be very complicated if you do not know it. Plagiarism is one illegality that you do not want to be involved with. Okay, illegality. It can be difficult to disprove the legality. of some viewpoints. Okay, so there's some nouns there, negative with IL. Legislate, legislate. It is important that there is relevant legislation in a workplace. The university legislated that all attendance needed to be recorded. The legislature could not agree on the compulsory nature of wearing masks. So here legislation, legislated, and legislature, related to the idea of passing laws, passing rules, that kind of thing, making things official. Method, method. There are many methods of self-development. It is best to take a methodical approach when learning a language. She considered many methodologies before her dissertation. Which methodology did she choose? Whichever methodological approach you use, make sure it fits your research. Okay, so we've got like a methodical approach, but also a methodological approach. Okay, so they are slightly different in meaning, those words. Okay, so some are to do with ways of doing something. You know, the idea of a well thought out and rational reason for doing something, a way of doing something. Occur, occur. Critical analysis occurs in many academic situations. There was an occurrence of different ideas. The pattern reoccurred when the experiment was repeated. So occur meaning happen. So an occurrence, like a happening, reoccurred, happened again. Period, period. The exam period is a stressful time for students. Journals are published periodically throughout the year. The university issues periodic newsletters to all students, periodic. So it's also with time, the time when things will happen. Principle, principle. The principles of the university can guide how it is seen by the public. Though she was seen to be popular, some of her ideas were thought to be unprincipled. Okay. So again, the idea of rules, laws, morals as well. Unprincipled, negative. Proceed, proceed. And not proceed, proceed, proceed. There are certain procedures to follow when doing research. An essay should proceed using a particular structure. The proceeds of the event were reinvested by the organization. Okay, so a slightly different stress depending on how it's used. Okay, so proceed in number 2 is used as a verb, but the proceeds, the noun, stress on the first syllable, as we've seen with some of the other words. Okay, process, process. Research can be a complicated process. The processing of new students can sometimes take a long time. Okay, so again, this is due with the way of doing something, you know, the way things have to be done. Things have to be followed and able to achieve something, or, you know, be positive at the end. Require, require. The essay required students to obtain over 40% to pass. The requirements of the degree meant students had to work hard to pass. Essays requiring critical analysis can cause problems for students. So require, quite a common word meaning involved or part of. Research, research. Learning how to research is a valuable skill. When researching new subject areas, students need to ensure that they have enough time. Many researchers need postgraduate qualifications. Okay. Again, it's not on our example, but remember, you can say research or research. Research is the noun, research is the verb. respond, respond. The responses were collected and then analysed. The respondents were asked a series of questions on the subject. So here respondents means the people who answered the questions. Though the teacher asked several questions, the students were quite unresponsive, so they didn't really reply, they didn't give any answers, unresponsive. Significant, significant. If findings are significant, then they need to be emphasised. Having a degree signifies being able to study in a high level, to a high level. The results that were insignificant were not useful to the overall research. Insignificant, not significant. Similar, similar. The two subjects vary and are completely dissimilar. There is a lot of similarity between some languages. The previous report seems to support the evidence, and similarly, so does this one. Number 4, there are several similarities between the results. Okay, so dissimilar, the prefix di, so meaning not similar. Okay, that word there, similarly. Okay, number 3. Specific, specific. Sorry, you're being too general. Can you be more specific? Before applying, please read the job specification. What interests me specifically is that the job allows me to use my skills. What are the specifications of this room? Specificity is more important than other things when checking for past infections. Okay, so again, we have different meanings. Number 5, specificity is something that's a very different meaning compared to the others. Numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, also about, the focus or the precise details. Structure, structure. The course structure allows students to focus on certain areas. Number 2, when assessing exams, often they are restructured to allow for new questions. The engineers used different mechanical structures from different materials. Though the language was clear, overall the essay seems quite unstructured and confusing to read. Again, restructured, unstructured. Okay, so that brings us to the end of Sublist 1, number 1. But as I said, I have another video, Sublist 1 further practice, which is not a repeat of this. This is a continuation of the other words in Sublist 1. So as I said, I will be doing all 10 sublists, so please keep a lookout for those when they come up. And as always, remember, we've got the other videos, Academic English Skills. We have the podcast on Spotify. If you search Academic Writing in 3 minutes on Spotify, it will come up. And Instagram as well, Academic English Skills UK. And also on Facebook, Academic English Skills. Okay, everybody, as always, thanks for watching. Any comments, any improvements, leave your ideas below and I'll have a read. Okay, thanks a lot.